All right, welcome everybody. We are here for the code enforcement hearing and the variance hearing. We're going to go through the code enforcement matters first. There's 3 matters on the agenda, and then we'll do the variance. So if you're here for the variance, stay here. We're just going to go through the code enforcement matters first, and then we'll get to the variance. So starting with the code enforcement, welcome to the City of Madeira Beach Code Enforcement Hearing. My name is Bart Valdez. I'm the appointed special magistrate to hear today's cases. I'm a practicing attorney and have been a member of the Florida Bar for over 20 years. I've been appointed to this position in accordance and with the authority set forth in Chapter 162 Florida statutes. It is my role to fairly and objectively review the matters presented. As such, I would like to advise you of certain matters related to today's proceedings. Today's matters will be heard in the order that they appear on the agenda. Every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence, argument, or comments to offer related to the specific case that is being heard. If you wish to speak today, it is necessary that you be sworn in by the city attorney in just a few moments. In all cases, since the city has the burden of proof, the city will present its case first. The respondent or property owner will then be given the opportunity to refute the city's allegations. Formal rules of evidence do not apply to this proceeding. However, I will exert every effort to ensure that fundamental fairness is afforded to all parties. After hearing all relevant evidence, I will issue an order. The order will be reduced to writing, and you will be provided with a copy by mail. Therefore, please make sure that we have your current address. Additionally, you are advised that I do not have the authority to grant you a variance, permit, or special exception of any kind. My role is solely to determine whether a city code has been violated and to provide you a reasonable time to correct the violation by whatever means is available to you. Please be advised that you may be subject to a fine and a lien may be recorded on your property if the violation is not corrected by the compliance deadline. If you wish to present any information to me today, it is necessary that you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Therefore, at this time, I ask that the city attorney swear in any witnesses.
Anyone that's going to speak, if you could stand up, raise your right hand, and be sworn under oath. Anyone that's going to speak today. Swear that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay. Thank you.
All right. The first case that we have on the agenda for the code enforcement hearing is case number 2021.2305. The property address is 247 Rex Place B, and it appears the property owner is Bruce Mellinson. Is the city ready to proceed?
This one needs to be removed from the agenda. It has been brought into compliance as of Friday afternoon. So we can just remove it from the agenda.
Excellent. All right, moving on to the next case, which is case number 2021.3328. It's a property located at 900 Bay Point Drive. And let's see here.
This case starts on page 48
of
the
it.
packet.
And it looks like the owner is Alberto Tagarelli. Is the city ready to proceed on this one?
Yes, we are.
All right, Mr. Trask, go ahead.
Just want to make sure that we do have someone in the audience for this particular. Are you Mr. Tagarelli? Okay. Are you here on his behalf? Okay, thank you. All right, so the city is going to go ahead and call Mr. Pinkert. Sir, you've been sworn under oath. Could you state your job responsibilities here at the City of Madeira Beach?
I issue building code violations within the city.
Okay, and how long have you been working for the City of Madeira Beach?
5 years.
And how long have you been in this position that you're in right now?
5.
Thank you. All right, this particular property at 900 Bay Point Drive, was this a proactive case or was this a complaint?
We received a complaint.
Okay, and what was the complaint the city received?
That there was work being done at the property in the rear yard.
And presumably that was done without a building permit?
Right.
Okay. The property that we're talking about is 900 Bay Point Drive, is that correct?
Yes.
And who is the owner of that property?
Alberto Tagarelli.
And how do you know that?
The Pinellas County property appraiser and the Pinellas County tax collector.
If you could look at documents numbered pages 48 through 50, And is that the property appraiser's website printout for this property?
Yes.
Okay. And also page 51 and 52, the tax collector website printout showing I'm sorry, that's a different property, Melanson. So the tax collector information in the packet is for Melanson. That doesn't have anything to do with this property, correct?
That must have been added from the previous case. That's
Okay.
a mistake.
But we know that for sure then Mr. Tagarelli is the owner of this property at 900 Bay Point Drive based upon the Pinellas County property appraiser's records, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go out to the property to see whether or not a violation occurred?
I did not. A previous employee, he was a building inspector, Brian Bick.
Okay. Are you familiar with the information that he obtained when he was out at the property?
Yes.
Okay. When did he go out to the property?
That was the day of the courtesy notice, May 20th, 2021.
Okay. And do you know what was found when he arrived at the property on May 20th?
There was work being done on the seawall. Looks like they were doweling in, and looks like they're attempting to build some sort of wall on top of the seawall.
Okay. And is that a violation of the city code?
Yes.
And what code section would that be a violation of?
14-164.
Okay. And that provision provides what?
No structure shall be constructed on any seawall.
Okay. On pages 53 and 54 of the packet, that was a courtesy notice letter that went out to the property owner?
Yes.
And were you the person that sent that?
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell the property owner that he needed to come into compliance with that particular code section by a date certain?
Yes.
Okay. And what was that date?
June 3rd of 2021.
Okay. And did he come into compliance by that date?
No.
Okay. Did you issue a notice of violation for the violation that was found on the property?
Yes.
And when did you do that?
June 15th, 2021.
I'd like you to take a look at pages 55 and 56 in the packet and tell me whether you recognize that notice of code violation.
Yes.
And did you also, again, tell the property owner to bring the property into compliance?
I did.
What date did you tell him that he had to bring it into compliance?
June 29th, 2021.
All right. Was this letter sent by regular mail and certified mail?
Yes.
Is the certified mailing shown on pages 57 and 58 in the packet?
Yes.
All right. Did you receive a response to that?
I did. Joe came into City Hall and we spoke about it, and he asked for just a little more time, so he was given an extension.
Who's Joe?
The representative that's here today.
Okay. And is that reflected in the phone call note on page 59 in the packet?
Yes.
Okay. Was the property brought into compliance within the 1-week extension that was requested?
No.
All right. There's some photographs in the packet starting at page 60. Could you tell us what those photographs depict, starting with the page numbers of 60?
Page 60, you can just see the block pillars with the rebar, and it looks like the concrete inside the block. More of the same on 61. And 62 is more the same, and the concrete being mixed up.
And this is at the property in question?
Yes.
Okay. Is the property in compliance as of today?
No.
Okay. Did you issue a notice of hearing for today as well as an affidavit of service showing that you had served that notice of hearing?
Yes.
All right. I'd like you to turn to page 63 and 64 of the packet and tell me if you recognize that affidavit of service.
Yes.
And that reflects that you sent the notice of hearing by certified mail on December 3rd, 2021?
Correct.
And you sent it by first-class mail the same day?
Yes.
And you posted the notice of hearing on the property at 900 Bay Point Drive?
Yes.
And you also posted that notice of hearing here at City Hall. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So on page 65 and 66, that's the actual request for hearing, correct?
Correct.
And then the notice of hearing on page 67 and 68?
Right.
And that reflects today's hearing date of the 13th of December at 2 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And pages 69 and 70, can you tell us what that is? 69 looks like the third page of the notice of hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what does page 70 reflect?
My page 70 is a copy of a certified mail.
Okay, and that was to Mr. Tagarelli?
Right.
All right, and what's the last photograph on page 71?
That's a picture of the posting of the notice of hearing at the property.
Okay. So you've already testified that the property is not in compliance as of today. Since that June phone call from the person named Joe, have you received any other correspondence or phone calls or emails from the property owner or his representative?
Mr. Joe did come into City Hall and we did discuss how to correct the violation. I haven't heard anything since.
Okay, and when do you think that occurred?
I want to say it was the same day as that extension request.
Okay, back in June.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If the special magistrate found a violation in the case, how much time do you think it would take to bring the property into compliance to remove these concrete pillars from the seawall?
I think 14 days.
All right. And what do you think the appropriate fine would be should it not be brought into compliance within those 14 days?
Because it's not a life or health safety concern, I think $100 a day is fair.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions, Mr. Pinkert. We would move into evidence. The documents that are marked pages 48 through 71.
All right, and just to clean up just a little bit, Mr. Trask, I'm going to accept as exhibit number 1 pages 48 through 50, and then pages 53 through 71 of 119, since it looks like 2 pages may have just been slipped in there out of order.
Yeah,
so
pages 51 and 52 do not belong in the packet.
All right, so that'll be accepted into evidence as exhibit number 1. All right, sir, you want to come forward to the microphone there and give me your name, sir?
My name is Joe.
Joe, what's your last name?
Nenoff, N-E-N-O-F-F.
N-E-N-O-F-F. And, sir, I understand you're here on behalf of Mr. Tagarelli. In what capacity are you here?
I'm his friend.
Okay. Mr. Trask, you have any problems with him?
Just have some voir dire, if I may.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Okay. Sir, does Mr. Tagarelli know the hearing is today?
Yes.
Okay. And when was the last time you talked to Mr. Tagarelli about the hearing today?
I texted him when I was here, told him I was here.
Okay. And why is Mr. Tagarelli not here?
He's working.
Okay. And does he understand then if a violation is found that there could be a possible fine against his property?
Yes.
Did you discuss that with him?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what is the reason he asked you to attend the meeting?
Well, because I was helping him do this. We were doing this together.
Oh, you were doing the work on the seawall?
Here's what's going on there, okay?
No, I just need you to answer my question. You'll have the opportunity to tell the special magistrate anything you want.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that you were helping him do the work on the seawall at the same time. He was helping you and you were helping him?
Correct.
Okay. I have no objection for him testifying.
Okay. And Mr. Nenoff, the reason I ask that question is we typically have people that come that are the attorney or they're a designated agent, like a contractor or something like that. So that's why I ask questions. All right, before we get to, you're going to have the opportunity to tell me anything you want to tell me. You're going to have the opportunity to present any evidence you want, call your own witnesses, whatever you want to do. However, at this point in the hearing, you have the ability to cross-examine or ask questions of Mr. Pinkert about the things that he testified to. You don't have to ask any questions if you don't want to.
No, it's fine. Everything he said was correct. The only thing I wanted to add was the last time we came in, it was hurricane season, and I asked if we could leave him up to put a border there because water's coming over the wall. It's just washing away. His house is one of the ones that got flooded, and we're trying to resolve by putting dirt in the back. So I wanted to put something up there to support wood or something, timber, so we could build up the backyard. So he's getting flooded out, basically.
Okay, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to expand on that in just a moment. But at this point in time, do you have any questions from Mr. Pinkert?
No.
All right. Thank you. You just stay right there, because I don't know if Mr. Trask has any other witnesses or not.
No other witnesses, thank you.
All right. All right, so Mr. Ninoff, now is your opportunity to present on behalf of the property owner. Obviously, I heard what you just told me about what you're planning on doing. So is there anything else you want to tell me, anything else you want to share with me?
I have an architect partner, and we looked into the codes of the wall. So and I understand that nothing can be built on top of the walls. But as I kind of looked around the neighborhood, there are some structures that are on some of the walls. So, but I understand that's the code. What we want to do is comply. We can move those columns back. We have to do something to support the dirt that will hold the dirt in, so the flood water doesn't come in. So that was kind of the objective. So Holden's been great to deal with. It kind of got away from me, but it was the hurricane season, and I just got back from New York. So, but Tony told me to come and deal with this, whatever it takes to comply. So I didn't know if it's possible if we could cap the seawall with a drawing, pull a permit and actually cap it to come up. But I understand that the elevations of the street and the seawall are the same. And I think I had read somewhere that if you can't go up with it, there was something in the spec sheet that said the seawall has to be the same as the road or something, which is kind of a little confusing because some of the other seawalls are higher. This one's lower. So I didn't know if we're able to cap the seawall, because that would also prevent the water from coming in. He lives on the intercoastal side. When the boats are going by, it gets flooded bad. And then, of course, the water's rising with the hurricanes and things. He was in one of the houses that got completely flooded, 2 foot of water in that house, So just trying to accommodate, trying to fix that, I guess.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. Mr. Trask, do you have any questions for Mr. Ninoff?
Just a few. When you and Mr. Tagarelli installed these pillars,
Cinder block, yeah, block.
Did you drill holes into the cap of the seawall to put those rebar in there?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, how many of those 3 pillars are filled with concrete and rebar?
They're not completely filled. They're just enough to support 16 inches of timber behind them. So they're not completely filled to the top.
How much time do you think it would take to bring the property into compliance? In other words, remove these 3 pillars?
2 weeks is fine. We could get a machine back there, and I can pull those things out. They're not they're not secured that much. They're just enough to hold. There was just enough. We went in just a little bit on top, just enough to kind of hold them. So it's not like we penetrated. We didn't go down into the seawall that far.
Okay.
So it could be little machine. I could probably just pull them right off. That's.
So you think 14 days would be sufficient of time to get that out of there?
Yeah, 14 days.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Ninoff, I am not unsympathetic to what you're trying to do, and I think the city is trying to work with you on this. You're saying 14.
Listen, there's a couple seawalls there that people want done, and it was the same thing. I went and shot elevations just to see it. It's that same. Do you know what the code is as far as going up? I mean, is he able to raise this seawall and cap it?
Well, let me say this. Like I said in the very opening, I can't give building permits or anything like that. It certainly appears to me, and I think you're admitting that this is a code violation. There's something built on top of the seawall that's code violation.
Yeah,
so I understand that. I want to make sure you're given enough time to get this corrected, though. It sounds like you still have problems with the city. I appreciate you saying you can do it in 14 days, understanding that we have holidays coming up and everything like that.
30 days would be better, I guess.
Okay, because what I don't want you to do is set you up to fail and say 14 days, and then we're back here in January because there's fines accruing. So anything else you want to tell me before we open it up to public comment?
No.
All right, sir, you can have a seat. All right, at this point in time, this is the portion of the agenda where any members of the public who want to comment on case number 2021.3328 in regard to 900 Bay Point Drive are free to come up and tell me what they want to know. Any members of the public want to come forward? Going once, Going twice, 3 times, and no member of the public has come forward. Mr. Trask, any last words?
No, thank you.
All right. Based upon the testimony of Mr. Pinkert as well as the admissions of Mr. Nenoff on behalf of the property owner, I do find that there is a violation of Section 14-164. I want to make sure I've got the correct corrective action. It's whatever set forth in the notice, which would be to bring the property into compliance by removing the unpermitted work or obtaining an after-the-fact building permit. I'm going to give the property owner 30 days just due to the holidays and the fact that this is not an immediate health or safety issue. Thereafter, it'll be a $100 a day fine. And that concludes the hearing on case number 2021.3328. All right, let's move on to case number 2021.3355. The property is located at 14230 Gulf Boulevard. I understand that the property owner is Shoreline Island Resort, LLC. Is the city ready to proceed?
Yes, we are.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Trask.
I just wanted to find out whether there was anyone in the audience on this case. Is there anyone here? Okay. You're here for the condo association? It's your business? Okay. All right. Yes, we're ready to proceed. Again, I would have Mr. Pinkert testify. So, Mr. Pinkert, this property at 14230 Gulf Boulevard here in Madeira Beach, that property is owned by whom, and how do you know that?
The property is owned by Shoreline Island Resort, LLC, and that is found by the Pinellas County Property Appraiser and the Pinellas County Tax Collector.
Okay, so if you're looking at pages 72 and 73 of the packet, that's the property appraiser's printout, and page 74 and 75 are the tax collector printouts showing the owner of the property?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a proactive case or a complaint?
This is a proactive case.
Okay, and when you say it was proactive, who's the one that brought it to the city's attention?
One of our community policing deputies who normally drive up and down the beach sent a photo to the building department.
Okay, and what was the photograph of that was sent to the city?
A wall being built on the Gulf side of the property.
All right, so I'm going to jump around a little bit to get that photograph up front so that we all can understand and see what it is. If you could turn to page 78 of the packet. Is this the photograph that you're referring to?
Yes.
This was taken by the deputy?
Correct.
And what does this photograph depict?
There's an individual building a block wall on the Gulf side of the property.
Okay. When this was brought to the building department's attention, did you or someone else in the building department determine whether or not that there was a building permit issued for this wall being built?
There was not.
Okay. And is that the reason why a courtesy notice of code violation was sent?
Yes.
All right. If you could then turn to page 76, starting at page 76, this is the courtesy notice that was sent to the property owner, correct?
Yes.
And what was the date of that letter?
July 15th, 2021.
And what was it telling the property owner?
Explaining that there was work being done at the property without the required permit, and to either apply for and obtain a permit to comply.
Okay. And the code section that was being cited as being that they were in violation of?
Section 86-52, when a permit is required.
Okay. So pages then 76, 77, 78, and 79, that was the courtesy letter?
Yes.
Okay. And when the courtesy letter was sent, did it ask the property owner to get the building permit or bring it into compliance within a date certain?
Yes.
And what was that date?
July 29th, 2021.
Did the property owner bring it into compliance by July 29th?
No.
Did you hear from the property owner?
I did not.
Okay. Did you issue the letter, notice of code violation, on July 30th?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like you to turn to pages 80, 81, 82, and 83, and tell me, is this the code violation letter that you sent?
Yes.
And it was asking the same thing for the property owner to bring the property into compliance by date certain?
Yes.
What date was that?
The August 13th, 2021.
Did they bring it into compliance by that date?
No,
Did you send that letter by certified mail?
I did.
Is that what's reflected on pages 84 and 85 in the packet?
Yes,
The green card? So it was signed for by a person by the name of Patty Longhouse. Is that correct?
correct.
Did you hear from Patty Longhouse after the letter was received?
I did not.
Have you heard from anybody after that letter?
The most recent communication I had, I believe, I received a voicemail, I want to say Friday, or maybe a week ago Friday, from the individual that's here, and I returned that call, but I don't think we've spoke since.
Okay. So the photographs that are next in the packet, which look to be like they start on page 86, if you could start on page 86 and go through these photographs and tell us what they depict.
This is the photo that was provided by the deputy. That's an individual building the wall on the Gulf side of the property.
Okay.
And I believe it's 87, just more of the same wall, and that is on the Gulf side. And I believe it is 88, but it looks like that is the finished product of the wall.
So they not only didn't stop building the wall and get a permit, they continued on and finished the wall.
Right.
Next photograph.
Again, another picture of the wall finished.
When were these photographs taken?
These were taken the day that the property was posted. Let's see, I believe it was December 3rd of 2021.
Okay. All right. Next, I'd like you to turn to page 90 in the packet. This page 90 reflects that it's an affidavit of service showing that you had sent a notice of hearing by certified and regular mail and posted it on the property and posted it here at City Hall. You were the one that executed that affidavit of service?
Yes.
Okay, and you did all of those things to give the property owner notice of today's hearing?
Yes.
All right. So page 92 and 93, that's the actual statement of violation request for hearing. And page 94 and 95, that was the actual notice of hearing?
Yes.
I'm sorry, in 96. Page 96 as well. 97, this is the documentation reflecting that it was sent by certified mail?
Correct.
And what is the last photograph then on page, I guess, 98?
That's a picture of the notice of hearing posted at the property.
Okay. So you've already testified the fact that you haven't heard from the property owner as to compliance other than Friday or the Friday before. What would it take to bring the property into compliance?
Either to apply for and obtain a permit or remove it. My only concern is there's a pool, and that wall would act as a barrier for the pool.
Okay, so more than likely a permit would not be issued for that wall, correct?
Correct.
Okay. How much time do you think would be appropriate to have the wall removed or a permit obtained if it's possible?
I think some 30 to 60 days, I think, is reasonable.
Okay. And the dollar amount of fine, should it not be brought into compliance within that time frame?
I think the $100.
Okay. All right, I would, at this point, move into evidence the packet of materials from pages 72 to 98, ask it be received into evidence.
All right, go ahead and accept into evidence as exhibit number 1, pages 72 through 98 of 119 as exhibit number 1. Mr. Pinkert, I just want to understand, so was this, to your knowledge, they're not replacing some kind of wall that used to be there? This is brand new construction there?
I think at one point there was a wall there, or possibly a fence. I'm assuming because they'd have, the state wouldn't allow them to not have a barrier around their pool.
And the reason I ask, I'm looking at, I think it's page 80, 88, the photo on 88. And it looks like there's the wall that brings us here today, then there's some tables and chairs, and it appears to be another wall. Do you see that?
Right.
Is the pool beyond that other wall, or where is the pool? Just so I understand. Yeah, just give me 1 second. And then you're going to have a chance to ask Mr. Pinkert questions as well. If you know, Mr. Pinkert, otherwise we can ask.
I don't. I just know the wall that's the furthest wall closest to the Gulf is the concern as far as no permit.
Okay. I heard the statement say that it was going to be difficult for the owner to obtain a permit, so I was just trying to understand that, but we'll hear from the owner. All right, sir, come on up and give me your name.
I'm Mike Marsh.
All right, and Mr. Marsh, what is your relationship to the property owner that's Shoreline Island Resort LLC?
I own it.
All right, you own that business, the LLC? All right. Mr. Marsh, I'm going to give you an opportunity in just a few minutes to tell me anything you want to tell me. This is the portion of the hearing where you are allowed to cross-examine or ask Mr. questions of Mr. Pinkert based upon what he just testified to. Do you have any questions for Mr. Pinkert?
The only thing that seemed like, I guess I have a question about was, I think you and I didn't talk, but when I did receive the first letter in July, I did come in and apply for a permit as soon as I got that letter. So I did do that. I came in, I submitted whatever information Linda, someone at the desk told me to do. I think I saw you, but I was not pursuing you in the time. I just said, I need a permit, so I came in to get a permit. So I definitely did do that. That was just after that first one. That is all I did. So I don't feel like that was stated that way because, like you said, you didn't hear from me, but I definitely in person came in and did whatever she told me to do to apply for a permit. From what you have said and where I would say for sure we are in error, in that conversation, I said we were not going to do any more. And we were not doing any more. And then I have been gone, and I have not been running the motel. My general manager has. And they capped it while I was gone, which is clearly in violation. I clearly told them not to do that. They told me everything that was in there was getting ruined because it was all there before, not supposed to have been there, not permitted. I'm not fighting that at all. We did not permit it before. So that's one thing, as a note of that. That was one of the things that didn't jibe with me in the sense that I know I did come in after that. So then the wall has been there. I mean, the wall's been.
All right, well, hold on. Again, I'm going to give you
sorry.
questions. Questions for him.
That was the one, and then I think that was it from what he had stated.
Okay, just stay right there. Mr. Trask, is there any redirect you want to have for Mr. Pinkert? Go ahead.
Mr. Pinkert, do you have the ability to check right now to determine whether or not a building permit was applied for or provided?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up now. I'm just trying to figure out, because I know it's a little goofy over there as far as addresses go. It would be under 14200 or 14230.
I mean, this came under 14230, so that's what I would have shown her. It was I wish I knew. It was a newer person. It wasn't the person I used to deal with here. So I don't even know if that probably doesn't help.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different parcels. So 14230 I think is the piece of paper that I had. So that makes sense that I would have applied for it.
Yeah, it looks like it was applied for in July 29th.
Which was right whenever I got that, the 15th, I think, or something.
So, Mr. Pinkert, was the permit application complete, and was the permit issued?
Has not been issued. Solid walls are not to be constructed within a FEMA velocity zone per FEMA construction guidelines, and there's some other comments from planning and zoning in there, but the permit hasn't been issued.
Has not been issued?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if you received any comments or anything.
So it has not stopped as a conversation between Aaron and I mean, it's clearly not you, or I don't feel like we would have received this in the mail, but with trying to get that permit, talking with FEMA, trying to take the wall that is there and have it serve the same purpose it has always served. It's just the sand has built up, and I have
I was
pictures.
wondering if it was for sand or for the pool.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah, sorry.
He's answered my question, thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Anything else, Mr. Pinkert?
No, thank you.
All right. Just stay right there, Mr. Marsh. Any other witnesses for the city?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Marsh, this is your portion of the hearing now where you can tell me anything you want to tell me. You can show me anything you want to tell me. I can tell you that as you're going through what you want to tell me, explain to me the history of this wall, what it's doing there, why you started to build it, and if you can answer my question as well as to whether there's another barrier to the pool for health safety issues.
Yeah. You want to see the picture?
Sure, you can just show Mr. Trask first, whatever you're going to show me.
Gotcha.
Asking about that, and then just so you're here. So that's the wall that had been there, and that's what we added to it.
Okay,
So you, how much?
okay.
That's the wall of the pool, but it
Can
is
you
not
see that?
enclosed.
Okay,
So if you're talking about like, is it enclosed, that is not enclosed. So
Gotcha.
if you're looking at the frame, the outward frame, that would have been, and it had been there, and it did have a fence before. That is the wall that was there, and those are the bricks we laid on top of the wall once paved and upgraded.
all right, go ahead. Mr. Marsh, you can go yeah, you can show Mr. Pinkert, that's fine, so you can see.
You were over the top and you were saying that actually.
Go to the microphone, Mr. Marsh, so it's on the record.
Yeah, so now at least you guys have seen that it is there's two walls there, but the outer wall that has been there since the 60s or 70s, I mean, I have pictures of that from my grandfather had it back in the 60s, a wall that was there did have a fence on top of it, and I showed you, but you probably didn't see, but the very bottom of the original wall had scuppers, gutters. And those are, I mean, now 2.5 feet below sand. I mean, measurably 2.5 feet below. Like they used to always drain out the water. Now none of the water drains. I mean, last year, 3 different times, our whole property floods with water and is full of sand. And then I sit there with a shovel and shovel it out. And so we have been planning to do this for a long time in the sense that we knew it had to happen. The reason why it happened as quick as it happened is a guest fell through the fence because that's so much higher now. They literally I was out there putting the umbrella down, a guest stepped back into it, sat down because they were intoxicated, and fell through the fence.
What kind of fence was it?
It was
like a powder coated, like something like what we see up there?
But that's not the wires going that way. It was up and down.
Okay.
It was up and down.
Some kind of powder coated metal fence, something like that?
Yeah.
Or?
So I feel like it's two separate things, right? For sure, we should have got a permit. I think I'm not fighting that at all. So if that's what this is about, I'm not fighting that we should have got a permit. I came in right away. As soon as I was told, I'm definitely not used to getting permits. Like, I grew up doing this stuff with my grandfather, so I'm not good at it. That's my fault. I should know that. And so I'm trying to get better at doing that on what we have to do on a wall that was there. I didn't feel like something that I made.
Let me make sure I understand the situation. So going back to the 60s, there was a wall that was, 3 feet tall, something like that? How tall was it originally?
I mean, the wall that's there, no, it's like a 2-foot wall, but then there's a fence on top of it.
Okay, there was a 2-foot wall. How high was the fence?
Another 3 feet, 3.5. I mean, it was definitely high enough for me that I could look over the very top of it, but like just look over the top.
Okay, and the idea is
The whole thing's
that over time, was there any kind of beach renourishment there, or over time just sand accumulated so that that wall that was originally 3 feet or 2.5, 3 feet high, now the sand came up almost level with that wall?
In the quickest way, yes. When I was there in the 80s and 90s, it did not have any seagrass at all on our entire 400 feet of property. We had no sea oats. Since then, both sides have grown up, like the sea oats are there. So now, like as I look down the beach and a storm comes in, we're like the only place where it's like channeled into our property. And that wall was no longer, I mean, and some of it, you can't figure it all out now, but the elevation of like, we've actually had to build the ramp up to the beach now from where it used to be. And so that is just, yeah, we weren't changing anything in my mind, but clearly, obviously we are. We're just trying to keep the same status quo, what has always worked to keep us from flooding. I mean, we flooded last year, the day after Christmas, when there was no storm.
I think I understand. Is there already, around the pool, is there a 48-inch fence around the existing pool right now?
So it is a large area that is enclosed, and it is not around the pool the way that, like, I know when I first got back, our insurance company said we had to have everything enclosed around. So we went around and we literally put in gates in places that have never had gates. And that was just when we moved in 2013. I never had these gates all my life. But I think it was just so far away that they never said that was enclosing the pool because it's so far away from the pool. The pool itself is like in the middle and there's just no. Anyway, the outer side everything was enclosed, yes. If you're asking at 48 inches, yes. But the fence that came down, I mean, it's weird, right? Because this side of the wall, there's a 2.5 foot thing. On this side, the sand, like, I literally, the last 3 years have gone out and I shovel a trench down the thing just to keep it from when the wind doesn't just blow sand everywhere, because it's just, it piles up against that wall.
All right, I think I understand. Anything else you want to tell me, and then I'm going to let Mr. Trask ask you any questions he wants to ask you.
I don't think so. I think
all right.
Gives the gist of, I mean, well, I guess the last thing is we have been working on it. It hasn't clearly resolved itself with Chima and the people he's worked through. He's got a list of 3 different people he's called. I have not been the main person doing it. He's on vacation, unfortunately. He's up in Massachusetts. Otherwise, he'd be here and be able to give you the specifics of the people. But we did, once we got this last one, on the 3rd of this month, we got another person. He called a couple different people, and his name's Jack, someone, and he's done this type of stuff before. I met with him last week. He said he can help figure that out, like, hopefully finish it. We just have, I don't know, no one's been able to give us an answer for our specific situation for how we are, because it is outside of the CCL, or coastal something, but it's outside of it, but it was there. It's not like we didn't just build this wall. It's been there forever, and I have plenty of pictures that would show that it's been there for 40 years, 50 years, you know.
I think I understand the situation. Mr. Trask, any questions for Mr. Marsh?
Few questions.
Yep.
This 2-foot wall that you had mentioned, the concrete wall, underneath the concrete wall that was added, that had a fence on top of it you just testified to. When did the fence come down?
When that wall went up. Well, when the wall went up. They cut off the fence for the wall to go up.
Okay.
Because it was broken down. So either we had to replace it or we had to put up a wall. Well, that's, for me, that was the 2 options.
Okay, have you seen these pictures, pages? Well, let me just go ahead and show you the photographs so you can take a look at it since you showed us some photographs. I'm going to mark them as pages 89 and 88 in the bottom right-hand corner. You can take them back over to the microphone. I just have a few questions for you on those. Yep. You recognize those photographs?
Sure.
It's the property we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The wall that's being built, it is just separating lawn chairs from another wall in those photographs, correct?
No, the wall that is built is separating the beach from the lawn chairs, if that's how you just said that.
Okay, so you got the beach, the wall that was built without a permit, lawn chairs, and another wall.
Yeah, the wall that wall's been there.
Okay, and the wall behind the lawn chairs, how tall is that?
I don't have that exact measurement to know. I mean,
That's the wall that goes around the pool, correct?
it does, but it's not enclosed. It doesn't enclose it.
Okay, I understand it.
It goes like, it's a U-shaped, and it goes way beyond the pool and does not close it off. That's the walkways for both of the sides.
Okay, the purpose of the wall that's being built that we're talking about today, the one without the permit, that wasn't for the purposes of enclosing the pool, correct? You need to respond audibly.
Sorry. It was not, no. It was
Correct.
not.
Okay, thank you. How much time do you think, if the permit is not issued, how much time, well, first of all, how long did it take to build the wall? A couple of days?
Yeah.
Okay. How much time do you think it'll take to remove the wall if the permit's not issued?
I have no idea. I mean, I mean, obviously, I don't feel like, I feel like I will do everything I can to not remove, to have something. I have to have something. I can't remove it and have guests falling on their heads, you know, and so clearly we'd have to remove it and replace something. Something has to be there. I'm not going to let people sue me for falling off the wall, because it's like you like walk off the beach and it's a 2.5 foot drop. So
Gotcha.
Something has to be there.
Gotcha.
So
Whether you have a bulldozer or whatever, take out 2 foot of sand and bring it down level with the current deck where the pool chairs are?
doesn't work. So I've been doing that for 6 years. We pay beyond the city thing to take the sand and put it out. First storm that comes in pushes it all right back up. It's because I think everyone else is built up, or the COs and things, which it's good. I mean, it makes sense that it keeps the beach, but literally it forces everything into us.
Okay.
In a way that it shouldn't be. I feel like it should be, the beach access is just to the south of us. It makes sense logically to pass through. If it's that strong of a storm, that the water should be passing through me, not into me, and just destroying,
Okay, if you could hand me those photographs back. I just have a couple more questions. Thank you. Yeah. Did you have a contractor build this wall?
Yes.
What was the name of the contractor?
Good question that I do not know. Don't know that off the top of my head. It was, guys that were able to come out and do it, and I don't remember.
Well, was it a masonry contractor? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they had some history of building masonry walls in Madera Beach or Pinellas County?
I really wish I knew the answer to that. I do not. Okay.
When you had entered into a contract with them, did they tell you that you needed a building permit?
Definitely not.
Okay. Did they tell you that they were going to get a building permit to do this work?
No.
Okay.
No. I definitely went into it not with the intent to get a permit, that, not trying to avoid getting a permit, just not with thinking I needed a permit to take down what was there and put it up. But
So in the photograph that I showed you, pages 8 and 89, there's a huge piece of equipment doing work on your property.
Mm-hmm. What
is that for? What is that piece of equipment, that cherry picker looking piece of equipment? If you can go that way. You don't remember?
Painting, if that was in December, we had the whole building power washed and painted.
Okay.
The blue. So if that was, I'm assuming that was, I don't know when it was taken.
Okay.
If it was taken in December, that's what was happening.
What I was trying to make is whether or not you're doing other work out there, and did you obtain a permit for that?
Yeah. Not for that, no.
Thank you.
But yes, we are, and we are there. We're doing, the guys, that is not that though, I don't think, depending on when it was, when it was taken. We have some of face roofs, but that are not roofs, but edges on the property that the tiles have fallen off. Literally a tile fell off and hit someone's car. So we've removed those. So that could have been that, or it could have been the,
Did you get a permit for that?
No.
Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
All right.
Thank you for being so honest. I appreciate it. Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Marsh, anything else you want to tell me before we open it up to public comment?
No. I mean, I think the biggest thing is I do not, I told my maintenance guys and my general manager, like, my goal is to not get around the rules. Like, it is not to get around the rules. And so I think part of it is just making sure, one, and that has always been what I've said, but clearly knowing what we can do, what we cannot do is tough, because it just used to be you could do the things that you were capable of doing. I have 3 very capable maintenance guys that can do things, and if they can't do half the stuff they do, it seems hard to keep them employed to do the job. So that's neither here nor there, I guess, but I just want to say that, like, yeah, I want to try to get it in compliance, but I also have to solve the problems I have. Like, I can't have a storm shut me down for 3 days because the non-storm. I mean,
No, I understand what you're saying, Mr. Marsh. Just have a seat, but stay close. All right, this is the portion of the hearing where any members of the public who have knowledge of this situation can come forward and provide any public comment, and any members of the public that want to come forward. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. There's just a couple questions I have. I mean, it certainly seems like the respondent, the property owner, is being candid and trying to get this situation solved. I understand they've provided a permit. What I don't want to do is be back here again in 30 days because of either other unpermitted work or this issue with not having a code compliant fence around the pool. I think that's the information I don't have right now, because I could see him getting a permit for this, but being right back here after that in another code enforcement hearing because we don't have it. Maybe that problem can be solved by simply, I mean, if I'm looking at the pictures, it looks like there's that white gate there that I would assume is probably 48 inches tall. And I'm looking at the photograph that's on page 89, I think it shows that gate. And so what I'm going to do in this situation is I'm going to continue this hearing for 60 days. We'll put it on the agenda for the February meeting. Mr. Marsh, in that time frame, I want you to please meet with the city. I mean, I can't order you to meet with the city, but I would ask that you meet with the city to try to work these issues out and see if something can be done to bring the property into compliance. If, Mr. Pinkert, if there's some other issues going on in this property that need to be addressed, you've got until February to address it, but I'd like to deal with any other violations, if any, that exist on the property all at one time. And like I said, I don't want to, he brings the fence into compliance, but then other things are out of compliance. So, Mr. Marsh, that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue this hearing until the February, at least the February 2022 code enforcement hearing. Whenever that is, the city can give you the exact date as to when that's going to be. And hopefully between now and then, you can try to get these issues worked out and get that building permit issued. When and if you bring the property into compliance, if it's before February, then you need to make sure you let the city know that whatever you agree to with the city, if you work something out, if you're able to work something out, then you need to let the city know when the work is done, so they can come out just like they did on the first hearing today and confirm that everything is within code and there's no further violation. All right. So if you can just work with the city on that, we'll continue this hearing until February of 2022. All right. That concludes all the matters on the code enforcement agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. We're going to move on to the variance portion of the hearing today. Welcome to the City of Madeira Beach Variance Special Exception Use Special Magistrate hearing. Once again, my name is Bart Valdez, and I'm the appointed Special Magistrate to hear today's cases. I'm a practicing attorney and have been a member of the Florida Bar for over 20 years. I've been appointed to this position in accordance and with the authority set forth under Florida law and the City of Madeira Beach Code of Ordinances. It is my role to fairly and objectively review the matters presented today in these variance requests. As such, I would like to advise you of certain matters related to today's proceedings. Today's matters will be heard in the order that they appear on the agenda. At this time, I have read and reviewed the application with all attachments, any written submissions by anyone having an interest, any timely submitted written objections, and the materials provided by the city staff. In all cases, the hearing will be conducted in the following order. First, we will confirm that public notice has been proper. Second, the city will present its case and staff report, and the applicant may ask questions of the city's representatives. The applicant will present his or her case supported by witnesses and evidence, and the city may cross-examine each witness. Public comment will only be solicited or received from parties directly affected by the variance. Individuals testifying do not have the right to cross-examine the parties. All public comment shall be limited to 3 minutes per person unless otherwise stated. Public participation will then be closed. I will deliberate and then make a decision to grant or deny each variance requested in the application. Formal rules of evidence do not apply to this proceeding. However, I will exert every effort to ensure that fundamental fairness is afforded to all parties. After my decision today, I will issue an order. The order will be reduced to writing, and you'll be provided with a copy by mail. Therefore, please make sure that we have your current address. Additionally, you're advised that I do not have the authority to grant you a building permit. You must still obtain a building permit for any work you intend to do on your property. If you wish to present any information to me today, it is necessary that you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth. Therefore, at this time, the city attorney will administer the oath and swear in any witnesses. If you expect to talk to me today during the hearing on any variance, then you will need to rise and be sworn. This includes any members of the public who are directly affected by the variance and may wish to provide public comment. I don't know if everyone was already previously sworn in, but let's just swear everybody else in, Mr. Trask.
Anyone that I haven't already sworn in, you swear that the testimony you're about to give is going to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you.
All right, the first and only matter on the variance special exception agenda is variance 2021.03 for the property located at 304 140th Avenue East. Was public notice proper?
So, Jenny, would you want to explain the notice procedure that was followed for the purposes of establishing all the notices were sent?
Yes, planning staff grabbed all 300 feet, property owners from 300 feet of the property from the Pinellas County property appraiser. And after that, we sent public notices mailed out and posted the property and in City Hall.
Okay,
all right.
Thank you.
Sounds like notice was proper, so the city can go ahead and proceed.
All right, so Jenny, we're going to back up just a little bit. If you're going to tell us your name and your job responsibilities here at the city.
My name is Jennifer Rowan. I am the senior planner here. I have a master's in preservation planning and am a certified floodplain manager. I have over 4.5 years of experience as a planner and have been a planner with the city for 1 year and 9 months.
All right. You're familiar with the application for the variance of this property at 304 140th Avenue East?
Yes.
Okay. Could you go ahead and then present the application and your staff recommendation?
Yes. So the request is a variance to request the reduce of the front yard setback to 13 feet and 8 inches and a rear yard setback of 7 feet and 6 inches to allow for a new garage and new bathroom. The specific code provisions are the setback requirements for the R2 zoning district, which is under section 110-206-1, front yard, which is 20 feet, and section 110-206, parent 2, which is rear yard, 25 feet. The variance request for 304 140th Avenue East reduces the front and rear setbacks to construct a single-car garage and new bathroom. Setbacks for the R2 zoning district create a small area of buildable space for the irregular and substandard lots. The current building and lot are legally non-conforming. So I will go through all the variance criteria, which is in section 2-507B of our code and staff analysis. The criteria 1, special conditions and circumstances exist which are particular to the land, building, or other structures for which the variance is sought and which do not apply generally to the lands, buildings, or other structures in the same district. Special conditions to be considered shall include, but are not limited to, the following circumstances. A, the substandard and irregular shaped lot. The site involves utilization of an existing lot that has a unique physical circumstances or conditions, including irregularity of the shape, narrowness, shallowness, or the size of the lot is less than the minimum requirement in the district's regulation. The lot meets criteria A. Staff's findings is the property is an irregular corner lot. The lot is wider, which is 114.65 feet, and shallower, 46.65 feet than a typical lot in R2 zoning district. The lot is also substandard and it does not conform to the minimum lot size of 80 feet deep, which is section 110-205, section 3. On to criteria 2. The special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. The self-created hardship shall not justify a variance. Staff's findings. The hardship of the property was not created by the property owner. The home was built in 1956 and the lot was defined before the construction of the home. Criteria 3. Granting the variance will not confer on the applicant any special privileges denied to other lands, buildings, or structures in the same zoning district. Staff findings. Approval of the variance will not grant any special privilege. Many properties in the R2 zoning districts have attached garages. Criteria 4. Literal interpretation would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district under the terms of the land development regulations, subpart B of this code, and would work unnecessarily and undue hardship on the applicant. Staff's findings. When the setbacks for the R2 district, which is in section 110-206 of our code, are overlaid on the property, the allowable buildable area for the lot is minimal. It would not allow for the property owner's rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same zoning district. Criteria 5. The variance granted is a minimum variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land. Staff's finding. This criteria has not been met. The proposed variance request is not the minimum variance that would make it possible the reasonable use of land. The proposed garage and bathroom could be placed on the right side of the home where more minimal variance may be required. Criteria 6. The granting of the variance will be in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the city land development regulations, and that such variance will not be injurious to the area involved or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. Staff's findings. The proposed garage is in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the city land development regulations and will not negatively affect the character of the neighborhood. So with those findings, staff recommends the denial of the variance because the application does not meet the 5th criteria. 5th criteria is the variance granted is a minimal variance that will make possible the reasonable use of the land. The applicant could move the single-car garage and bathroom to the right side of the building to create a more minimal variance. The proposed area of the garage, which is west or left of the building, would require a larger variance, making the applicant conflict with criteria 5. If the applicant moved the garage to the opposite side of the building, there would still probably need to be a variance, but the variance would be smaller. The applicant stated in the variance explanation that there is discussion regarding the alteration in plans to the garage, for the garage on the right side of the building, but they chose the design of the garage to the west side due to the layout of the home. Although the current design is more compatible with the layout of the home, staff cannot determine this factor in the variance review. Section 2-507B in the Madeira Beach Code of Ordinance states, in order to authorize any variance from the terms of the city land development regulations, the special magistrate shall consider the following criteria and shall find that the criteria has been satisfied in full and that a hardship exists. Since the application for the variance is not satisfied in full, not meeting that criteria 5, staff recommends denial of the current variance application.
Thank you, Jenny. I have a few more questions for you. You have the packet that the special magistrate has in front of in front of you. Do you have that packet?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So pages 99 through through 109, 99 through 109, that's the actual application that was filed, correct?
Yes, that is correct, 109.
Okay. And what I'd like to do is for you to turn to page well, it's the plan. It's labeled A1, and it looks like it's on page 108. Do you have that in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So just for explanation then, for us lay people, the black box on the left side of the site plan layout on page A1, that's the proposed garage?
Correct.
And in the back of that garage, it's proposed to be a bathroom as well as a garage?
If you look at page 109, it has the proposed floor plan, which shows the new bathroom in the back of the garage.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Now, and the recommendation, well, the review of the application reflected that the property owner, the designer, also looked at placing the garage on the right side of the property. Is that was your testimony, correct?
Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
All right. Do you know whether or not that there are homes in Madeira Beach on these small non-conforming lots that have attached garages that are not accessible by the house? They can be accessed by the garage door itself, separate from the house?
I would assume so. I don't have a list of properties, and I have not looked further into that.
Okay. And the application itself, does it mention a bathroom, or does it just mention a single-car garage? You could turn to page 99 of the application.
Okay. The application states the single-car garage on page 99 and 101.
Nowhere in the application does it reflect that there was a need for a bathroom other than in the plans that were submitted.
Correct.
Okay. I'd also like to ask you about pages 113 through 115. Those are the addresses that the property appraiser has provided the city of Madeira Beach with to provide notice to properties within 300 feet of the subject property, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And your testimony earlier was that was done?
That was done by other planning staff.
Okay.
So not me personally, but other planning staff.
And the notice they received, is that the notice that's reflected on page 116 of the packet?
Yes.
And what is the photograph of on pages 117, 118, and 119?
So page 117 is the posting on the property for the notice, and then page 118 is the posting on City Hall, and page 119, I believe, is one of them is at City Hall, and one of them, I believe, is at the library. Okay. I did not post this; other city staff posted.
Okay. But those postings were of the notice that were referred to on page 116?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. I tender in the evidence the packet materials, page 99 through 119.
All right, we'll go ahead and accept into evidence as exhibit number 1, the entire package, pages 99 through 119. Ms. Rowan, I just want a couple of questions on this. In regard to, I guess it would be page 108, this one right here, is the, I don't know what you would call that form, almost looks like a triangle. Is that what they would have to build within if they were to be within the setbacks from every side of the lot?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that dashed line on
Correct.
page 108 is the setbacks.
All right.
So it's very minimal, as you can tell from the site plan.
All right. Okay, is anyone here on behalf of the property owner, Mr. and Mrs. Horowitz? Anybody here on behalf of TP3 Building Solutions? All right, come on up, sir. All right, what is your name?
My name's Trey Payne with TP3 Building Solutions. I'm the...
Hold on just one second. Trey, how do you spell your last name?
Payne, P-A-Y-N-E.
Payne, okay. All right. Mr. Payne, I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell me everything you want to tell me about this project and why the variance should be granted, even in light of the staff's recommendation. But at this point in the proceeding, you have the right to ask Ms. Rowan questions. So do you have any questions for Ms. Rowan about the testimony that she provided, any of the questions that Mr. Trask asked? Do you have any questions for her?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
My first question is that earlier it was stated that the bathroom was not part of the application. However, I believe that in the written description of the application, we did include the intent of the intent of the bathroom. If it wasn't separately noted on the on there, I believe. No, I'm sorry. It doesn't say bathroom. It's just noted in the plan. Sorry about that. I thought it was on there. The other question I had for Ms. Rowan was, is it feasible, given the current setbacks, to build, if the house was not there currently, is it feasible to build a structure given the setbacks?
You would need a variance. As you can see in the plans that you provided on page 108, the setbacks are very small, so you would need a variance to build on that lot.
Thank you. My other question was, it mentioned specifically about section 5 of the requirements for the variance, that the requested variance is not the minimum. My question is, what is the difference in the variance requested as it stands today, as it's proposed, versus if it was on the right-hand side?
So looking again at page 108, if you see on the right side of the property, closer to that North Bay Shore Drive, the property has a little bit more room to build.
I'm sorry, I'm looking for
page 108. It's the site plan page.
The site plan.
Yeah.
They got all sorts of messed up.
So it appears that if you built something to that same size, it appears that you would still need a variance, but it would be smaller in size of a variance.
Understood. And did the city happen to analyze, I know I mentioned it in the narrative provided, but did the city happen to analyze what the difference would be if we changed the address of the property to the adjacent street to make that the front yard versus the current front yard being the on 140th?
I know that we discussed this in a meeting, but I don't remember exactly what you would need if a variance was still required, if you changed the address to that North Bay Shore. I believe a variance was still needed, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I think no matter what, a variance is required. I was just, in terms of that section 5 and the requirement, trying to analyze what the true minimum variance would be for the request. That's why I asked. I don't have any other questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Payne. And I am going to give you a full opportunity to present everything to me in just a few minutes there. So, is there an aerial view of this property anywhere within the Exhibit 1?
I can certainly provide one on my iPad for you, but I don't believe it was included as part of the exhibit.
All right, yeah, we'll take a look at that when you come back up, if you wouldn't mind. All right, Mr. Trask, anyone else you want to call on behalf of the city?
No other witnesses.
All right. what we'll do then is we'll hear from Mr. Payne. We do have one affected person, Mr. Greg Castle, so we'll make sure to hear from him, and then we'll open it up to public comment. So, all right, Mr. Payne, tell me, the city finds that you meet all the criteria except for this criteria number 5. I understand what the city is saying. They're saying that, well, you can move it to the other side of the house, and then you would still need a variance, but you wouldn't have to go into the setbacks as much. I understand from your application, however, that moving it to that side of the house would be problematic because you have 2 bedrooms that
Correct.
sit there. So go ahead. I mean, I think I understand the framework, but go ahead and tell me anything you want to tell me, and I would like to see an aerial photograph. You can pull that up as well.
Absolutely. Let me grab that real quick. So, but prior to this variance being applied for, myself and Ms. Rowan and other members of the staff had, I came and discussed it with them, explaining the difficulties we're having with trying to improve this property in any aspect, or at least what my client wants, due to the setbacks. We discussed about putting the garage on the right elevation of the home, which obviously is not a very functional option due to the 2 bedrooms, as you mentioned previously. Furthermore, that side of the home currently has, I would say, more mature vegetation on it. It's more pleasing on that side, whereas the area of the proposed garage, as it stands today, is currently a gravel driveway. Thus, it made sense that it would be on that side of the property from a functional and aesthetic type situation. We did discuss also the possibility of a detached structure. I can pull up the setbacks for those detached structures, but in summary, there is no way to build a detached structure for a vehicle due to the size limitations and, again, the setbacks in which we are allowed to build on this property. There was a discussion that I had with my client and Ms. Rowan during our initial meeting about possibly separating the garage and the bathroom, utilizing let me rephrase. The area adjacent to the proposed garage on the rear elevation is currently a laundry storage room, laundry storage utility room. I have discussed with my client about repurposing that room as the second bathroom for the home. Currently, it is a 1-bathroom home. And then, again, with the garage, possibly bringing that over to the right side. Long story short is, my client does not feel that is in line with their overall vision for the home. They do not like the aesthetics of it, the functionality of it, and thus that's why we have proposed this here today. I am not sure what the difference is between the setbacks, whether this structure is on the left elevation or the right elevation. I do believe that they would be very comparable, but I do not have an exact number of what the difference is between those 2 with me here today. And if you'd like, I do have the aerial view of the subject property pulled up if you'd like me to.
You can just show it to Mr. Trask first, please.
Gotcha. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So the existing structure is this one with the blue roof right there, and this is the current driveway into the property. This, is it dirt or gravel, something like that? Okay. And is this another house that 302, I guess? Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Payne, fully understand what you're saying. Anything else that you want to tell me?
I guess really the only thing I would mention is if this board does find a denial in the case today, we would like the opportunity to, or I would like the opportunity to go back to my client and propose and work with Mrs. Rowan as what y'all would deem as the minimal in order to satisfy that requirement number 5. Now, I do stand by my opinion here today that those two differences are very minor. Furthermore, I think from an aesthetic standpoint of the existing structure, it makes a lot more sense that the garage new structure is on the left elevation of the property. However, we would just like that opportunity for in the event that's the case.
Understood. Mr. Trask, do you have any questions for Mr. Payne?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Payne. Have a seat. Before we go into public comment, we do have a notice of intent to be an affected party by Mr. Castle. Mr. Castle, are you here? All right, sir. Come on forward. Mr. Castle, what is it you'd like to tell me about this particular variance application?
Well, there's a couple of things. I live basically, sort of in a diagonal fashion across from this property. And we can see it, and we walk there all the time. It's a constant walking path for us up and down these sidewalks. One of my concerns here is, regardless of where this garage may be placed on this house, is it extends past the plane of the home, which only leaves 13 feet to the edge of that sidewalk. Anytime a car is parked in that driveway, it will block that sidewalk, and people walking will have to walk around it in the street or whatever. I don't know whether the city looked at that. We probably should look at that. And that we're not the only ones that use it. It's highly used, for that purpose. That really is my main concern, that, and also it will extend beyond the plane of the home, which will look a little odd, but, they can, I guess that's somebody's choice to do that. But from my perspective, again, my thing is that it's where it's located, and regardless of which side of the house it would be on, it's going to have the same problem because it's the same setback parallel to that sidewalk. So that would be my main concern, and it's a safety concern as well as just how it's going to look. And once we do this with one property, you'll be faced with this as an ongoing, you'll have this precedent set with other properties doing the same thing, which could then where do you stop it? 7 feet beyond the plane of the house, 13 feet to the sidewalk, or now 10 or 11 feet to the sidewalk. You run this risk. And I happen to be a PE, registered PE, and I know a little bit about these things and roadway design and that kind of thing. This is not a roadway design issue. However, safety with regard to pedestrian walkways, it is an issue for me, the way I see it. That's my main thing here. I could comment on the structural, whether or not this thing's going to structurally work on that house, and that needs to be looked at. Certainly get some structural calculations. I happen to be a structural engineer, and I would do that to make sure that that's taken care of also, but that's aside, because these old homes are not really set to transfer wind load to them. Just an aside comment.
And I appreciate that. And again, going back to what I'm here to do today is I don't do wind load calculations. That's something that would come up at the building permit phase. But I certainly understand what you're saying. So thank you, Mr.
That was just a comment on the side. But again, my main thing is how things actually set in there. These houses, and as you've noted, it is not compliant with the current setbacks, and many of the houses down there are not. But this one is really a rough shot. I mean, you can see what that outline is. What their building footprint is so small. So,
got it.
That's it.
All right, thank you, sir. And what I'll do, Mr. Castle, just so it's in the record, I'm going to go ahead and attach your notice of intent to be an affected party as Exhibit 2, so that'll be in the record as well. All right. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this variance application 2021.03? Yeah, I'm going to let you come back up, Mr. Payne. All right, seeing no members of the public, Mr. Payne, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to let Mr. Trask have the last word. So, Mr. Payne, come on back up. Tell me anything you want to tell me in closing. You can respond to Mr. Castle in any way you want, or anything that the city has said, or anything else you want to tell me.
Okay. But I respect his comment about obviously wind loads and everything else. Obviously, the structure has to be signed and sealed by an engineer and obtain the proper permits and everything else. I had a question specifically about what he said. That was the bigger point about the plane of the home and increasing the front of this garage past that plane of the home. And it's a question for Ms. Rowan, if I could. The current setback in the R2 district is 20 foot, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe that there is a, is it a right-of-way? Like where it reduces that 20 by a certain amount?
Hold on a second. Are we at summary right now?
I think we are. Why don't you just tell me what it is you're trying to get to?
I just wanted to point out that, yes, we are proposing to bring the plane of the home forward, but I am under the impression that the setback for the structure, since it is a garage, is not necessarily 20 foot and that it may be less. And that was just a question I had for Ms. Rowan to clarify that.
I mean, I don't know if Mr. Trask wants to allow it or not. I mean, my understanding is the city's not saying that you can't do it. What they're saying is that what the ordinance requires is the minimum amount, the minimum distance. And so that would be by putting the garage on the other side of the house. You'd have to go into the setback less. I didn't hear the city taking any issue with the plane of the home as the interested party did. I don't know, Mr. Trask, if that's an issue or not.
No, sir.
Okay. So I understood what Mr. Castle said, but I don't believe the city is taking issue with what he described as the plane of the garage. So if you want to tell me something about that, that's fine, but the city is not saying you can't do it because of some issue with the plane of the garage.
No, sir, that's not what I meant. I just meant that in that drawing that you have, which I don't know the page number that you have, it's not printed on mine, but I believe it's the site plan, it's A1, you'll notice that dotted line. And that was my question for Ms. Rowan, because since it is a garage, a lot of times if your standard setback is 20 foot from a building, the setback for a garage would be actually less than that. So that line really would do a jog, if you will, around the garage of the setbacks as it is in the current ordinances. That's all I was trying to get at.
I understand what you're saying. All right, thank you, Mr. Payne. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Mr. Trask?
I don't have anything else to add, thanks.
All right, just a couple questions on this one for me. Mr. Trask, you can obviously defer to Ms. Rowan on this. I know you brought up the bathroom issue. I see the bathroom on the plans. The applicant has said, he always intended to do a bathroom, but I didn't see it. Is that an issue? I mean, in other words, if I were to grant the variance, grant it with conditions, is it dead in the water from day one because he's asking for a garage and it's got the bathroom in it? You understand what I'm saying? I don't want this to, I don't want it to be dead in the water or have some procedural problem because it shows a bathroom in a garage and the application only says garage.
No, I just wanted to make it absolutely clear that if he was just looking for the garage, he would need that depth. That was where I was going with that. So the application does not refer to it at all. He would get his 20-foot depth garage on the other side and probably have even less of an impact on that criteria to be the minimum. But I just want to make that clear that that was not part of the application. But if you're asking me whether or not that's important in the overall picture, the footprint is what's important in the overall picture and not necessarily what's inside it for me, but I would defer to Ms. Rowan.
Yeah, and Ms. Rowan, I'll be happy to hear from you because the other point I'm saying is since the bathroom is not in the text of the application, does that present a problem? In other words, if I were to approve this variance and I'm only approving to going in the setbacks for a garage, but you've got a garage and a bathroom, is he then going to have to come back and file another, if he wants to build, if the owners want to build what's shown on the plans, are they then going to have to come back to us because they want to build a garage and a bathroom?
I would not see an issue with it because on part of the application on the site plan, and the building plan, it does indicate the new bathroom. I know it's not in the text of the front 2 pages. Is that page 99 and 101 does not include the bathroom, but I would not think it would be an issue.
All right, and along those lines, because Mr. Payne has expressed a potential willingness to discuss with his client this situation, and I know this is a lot of ifs, Ms. Rowan, and I'm just trying to understand if they eliminated the bathroom, so I guess that would push back the footprint of the garage slightly.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Would that impact your opinions on number 5, or would you need more time to look at that issue?
The variance would still be more minimal on the other side of the building.
All right. Now, Ms. Trask, back to you, and this is a legal question, and I just don't know the answer, and if you need time to research it or something like that, we can come back. I understand the staff's position on this. The question I have is, when you're considering the hardship situation like this, do you take into account the characteristics for the property? In other words, the argument that the applicant is making that if you were to put it on the other side of the house, you've got 2 existing bedrooms there that you'd have to come through versus putting it where the applicant wants to put it. So do you take, as a legal matter, when you're analyzing this 5th criteria, do you take into account the characteristics of the existing structure to say, well, we really can't put it on that side of the house because of these 2 bedrooms? Or do you simply look at, from a legal perspective, if you put it on the left side of the house, or put it on one side of the house, you'd have to go farther into the setbacks than on the other side of the house, but you don't consider the existing characteristics of the home?
It's my opinion, do not consider the characteristics of the home. It's just the footprint of the structure itself.
Okay.
So whether it takes them a little bit more design work to move the bedrooms around to create a hallway, or whether they access the garage from the outside versus through an inside wall, whether they take out the bathroom and put it in the laundry room and not have the bathroom in the garage at all, those are all design capabilities. But in every one of those situations, I think that this criteria would still have to be met. It has to be the minimum variance. And obviously, what he's suggesting here, or the applicant's suggesting, is not the minimum variance. You've heard the testimony from both him and Ms. Rowan as to that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Trask. And it's the city's position that all the criteria have to be met for granting this variance under this hardship warrant.
That's our
ordinance,
position.
correct?
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Payne, I asked a bunch of questions there. Is there anything else you want to tell me based upon the questions that I asked of either the city, Ms. Rowan, or Mr. Trask?
No questions.
All right. Mr. Payne, I certainly understand what you're saying to me. However, as Mr. Trask just said, and that's why I wanted to ask his legal opinion on behalf of the city, under the city's ordinance, you have to check all the boxes, right? So if there is one of the criteria that's not met, then that creates an issue there. In other words, the city's position is you can't just meet 5 of the 6, you have to meet all of the 6. The reason I asked Mr. Trask the legal question is because certainly I'm familiar with all these things, but I wanted to determine whether there's, and I don't know of any case law to the contrary of what Mr. Trask says, and certainly Mr. Trask is well versed in law. He's board certified, and I certainly trust what he says. At the same time, I understand what you're saying. You want the opportunity to rework this with the city. Mr. Trask, I'm going to deny the variance, but is procedurally, should I simply deny the variance? Should I give the applicant some more time since he's asked for more time to request it, deny it without prejudice? What's the procedural mechanism that the city would prefer on this?
I think it would be denied without prejudice, and then he would file another application, and then that new application, whatever it is, city staff will review it as it's presented. Right now, we're only reviewing what's been presented in these plans. So he can always come back to us with another application.
All right.
And we'll review it.
Yep. Go ahead, Mr. Payne.
And would that be another variance application fee? I believe it's $1,700. I don't know the exact amount. It's $1,700 something. So, and this is just this is a question for me to have to relay to my client about, coming back here and reworking something if that is the case.
So if the city staff was asking me, it would be another application fee, and here's the reason why. It takes the same amount of city staff time to review the application. It takes the same noticing requirements, the same publication requirements. We have all those costs out of pocket. Those have already been ate up by the previous application fee. So if we're doing it over again, we have to renotice it again. There may be neighbors that were not necessarily concerned about this particular variance, but may be considered about an upcoming variance, and so we have to renotice it all over again. And that's really to cover staff time and all those noticing requirements.
Understood.
So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and so, Mr. Payne, I'm going to have to deny the variance because of that fact that there's, the testimony today from everyone seems to indicate that it does not meet all of the criteria, and that's what's required. It's a high burden, certainly, for variances within the city, but that's to promote uniformity. At the same point in time, I would encourage you to reach out to the city, like Mr. Trask said, like Ms. Rowan said. Maybe there's some additional things you can think of in regard to the fact this is a driveway or something like that, or there's something else you can propose to the city, maybe even informally, I don't know, but I would encourage you to talk to the city because certainly other times before I have granted variances once it meets all of the requirements, but it's a situation where it's either got to check every box or it doesn't, and I wanted to give you the full opportunity to try to explain to me why maybe the city was incorrect and that no, indeed, you wouldn't need that you could do it the way you propose to do, and that would be the minimum setback. So I'm going to deny it without prejudice. Now, what does that mean without prejudice? That means that you can come back. Sometimes when I just deny a variance, that means you can't come back to me on the same facts or anything like that. So the applicant certainly can come back and submit another application, try to address these concerns that the city has so that it would meet all of the criteria that is set forth in the ordinance. And again, I would really focus on that one little criteria because that's the only thing that's missing. Otherwise, the city has indicated that they would recommend approval for the variance. And although I certainly heard the public comment and will listen to any interested person, I would not have denied the variance based upon what the interested affected party said. I didn't find that his particular testimony would warrant a denial. So I think you just need to focus on that one criteria that the city has raised. All right, so that concludes that hearing. Anything else on the agenda today, Mr. Trask?
No, sir.
All right, that concludes all of our hearings today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.